Palantir had a breakout day to close out the week, while earlier in the week making a crucial decision that will impact the trajectory of the company, as well as just more news for the shortened holiday week. So looking at the stock first, just remember there was one less day of trading for the July 4th holiday market close, but that didn't stop Palantir closing up, but actually making a big breakout earlier, run to 27, going into the 2720s at one point. Now, as noted last week too, we've reached that territory once again, where earlier in the year, as well as just last month, they reached selling pressure at this point, so we'll continue to monitor how this plays out. And note, for those new to the channel as well, just a disclaimer, I'm not one to cheerlead the stock price itself and focus more about the fundamentals growing and news about Palantir, with the stock making this noise in the short term, to me at least, where hopefully the fundamentals grow into that premium valuation that we see today. But these do definitely bring out the excitement in the short term, where a lot of folks are trying to look for the next big catalyst, thinking S&P inclusion for next quarter, although there's a mix of predictions of if there will even be a rush of buying from institutions, considering they are already slowly building their positions in anticipation of this. But probably more volatility may be around earnings in about a month. If Palantir can show growth accelerating in their numbers like revenue or customer count, or if guidance gets positively impact for next quarter and for full year, then these can prompt the market in either direction if Palantir were to hit or miss expectations on these. But there's always the surprise contracts too. At least for big projects, I don't believe there's any obvious ones coming up in the pipeline now, with Titan being the most recent one here that was pretty big, but you never really know when it comes to Palantir on some huge unexpected contract on the government or commercial side, so we may get into some exciting stuff ahead. So first, we've got an interesting piece from Wall Street News where Palantir was listed as one of Bank of America's top 10 short-term stocks for the current quarter of Q3 2024. Now, for me personally, it's still noise since it's focused on the short term and based more on the technical side with their analysts, thinking that they're on their way to possibly hit 30, while fundamentally Mariana has them with a $28 price target. So essentially for them, it's a perfect storm of possible short-term returns because they like the business itself and the price action setup too. But I'll leave it up to you if you want to follow Bank of America. My 2 cents essentially is that this brings in new eyes on Palantir on possible folks who might want to take a second, more closer and thorough look at their business and maybe find out some new nuggets for us in retail. But we'll see if this could motivate some other big players. Then, we've got a couple buy transactions from Cathie Wood, picking up 199,000 shares and 37,000 shares over a couple days. So I don't personally care what she does, but like to point out, she's been picking up shares here and there with the current price action. So she's still picking up shares in the mid-20s now at recent highs, but you can do what you want with that information. Then we've got some SEC filings, and no, it's not insider selling yet, so changing it up, we do get some shares added to these insiders awarded to David Glazier and Ryan Taylor, who each got 197,000 shares. Note the $0 price. Then we've got an interesting blog post by Palantir. It's highlighting the European Union's regulation around AI. Essentially, the whole article talks about the legislation itself, the expectations around it, as well as the technical and policy challenges around it. But the main thing I'd say is that they really paint the consequences out for those considering their operations in Europe. Basically, millions are at stake for different kinds of failures to follow the regulations and meet those standards. But Palantir is obviously pitching that they can help you do it. So that's kind of the beauty of Palantir too, not only showcasing how they can deliver value in improving your business and running and operating better, as well as just understanding your own data, but also doing this in the context of security, and not only say like cybersecurity against attacks, but security and risk mitigation when it comes to these regulations for data protection. They meet the requirements. Their products are literally built for this and the highest levels of the military per se, like IL-6 trust. While Palantir, this is just another thing part of their DNA for them to provide this level of regulatory frame compliance too. So hopefully it can draw in a few customers who don't want to deal with the headache or risk of tens of millions of euros for penalties. Then we've got another SEC filing with Palantir's ownership of Surf Air Mobility. This stock in the past has been very reactive on the release of this SEC filing from Palantir to 13G, where it ran actually really huge last time. Now this time it wasn't as spectacular, but still ran almost 12% after hours right into the July 4th holiday. Now it didn't hold out from what I see, but honestly that's not surprising, considering it doesn't mean anything in my opinion. Palantir continues to acquire shares because of settling outstanding accounts receivables, meaning that the company can't pay Palantir essentially, and this is a penny stock too, so these shares may end up worthless in the end, albeit it's a very small negligible amount anyways in the grand scheme of things for Palantir at least. Then, we've got some interesting news that Alex Karp's book will be coming out in February 2025 with some consequences, in my opinion. This has been teased out in the past, but you can pre-order a hardcover version for $30, and if you're interested in that, you can do so and order it for when it comes out. From the description, we know it will follow similar themes we've heard from Alex Karp time and time again regarding tech companies and national security needing to work together, and that's to ensure the safety and defense of our country's military might, while also jabbing at the recent Silicon Valley where talented engineers and founders are wasting away their skills on, say, less important issues, from serving us more ads to making more social media platforms. Obviously, he has his own opinions and solutions proposed to pivot this and the benefits of tech and defense working together at that intersection. But I do want to point out this can be vital actually for Palantir's business, because there may be two outcomes of a switch where first, maybe more and more startups and companies plan to provide services to the military and may hold as competition, but some of them may want to do this very quickly. Well, Palantir has a vital product called FedStart, where they can get their solution up and running in a highly secure environment at IL5, IL6 levels, which takes a lot of time and money, and achieve this on their own, but only within a couple months. Instead, here you get it from Palantir when you work through them. So essentially, Palantir is a tollway where you can scoop up government contracts and then actually serve on them because you actually meet those requirements. And this is much quicker without the headaches of getting this your own accreditation. And the second outcome, too, is that just encouraging on the government end of work with tech and software companies militarily. People know about the huge contracts with hardware primes, but software and budgets allocated to them are still in its infancy, in my opinion. Any boost of this can benefit Palantir as a trusted software provider to the US government. Now, the biggest news in my opinion is that Palantir is now free. Chad has already shared that build.palantir link, which allows access to Palantir for free. Now, like a lot of SaaS companies, there's a free tier but upgraded paid tier as well, noted on the screenshot. But it's vital also to note that it's still limited to countries on the sign up page: Canada, India, United States, and the United Kingdom. But there are plans to expand this over time. Now, the reason I think this crucial decision also to strip even the basically free option before $500 of compute is that Palantir truly wants these prospective customers and users to really test the limits here without that budget. Now, of course, this may come at a cost to Palantir, especially if users do not convert over to a paid model, but this may be a decision based off what they gave away before and see the trade-offs as favorable to converting customers. But note that is speculation from me. But really, the biggest thing is that this makes it available to whoever, potential companies, which is obviously to demonstrate Palantir can provide value and will be something they want to build off of. And of course, get to that enterprise package and pay since it's so valuable. But I think bigger is getting developers the chance to actually get their hands on it. They may share it with their companies and stuff, but really, who will vouch for something if they've never tried it before? So this will help open the doors to developers to really test out their projects and plain builds to determine if Palantir can deliver on the things that are valuable to them. And from here, if it's successful, can be the trajectory of mass adoption, which I believe opens that path here with this here and making it actually achievable. But now it just has to be proven and work out. But what do you think? Let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video.